Woohoo!
Well, welcome everybody. We are so excited that you're joining us through this series. We have some great presentations coming today, but we want to just kind of talk about what we talked about last week, and we talked about character, and we talked about those three character traits that will really help you lead during a crisis. And one of them was, leaders have to be adaptable so that they can turn the adversity into advantage. Another one we talked about was courage, because courage empowers us to do what's right in the face of fear and uncertainty. We also talked about self-management and how you have to stay grounded, connected, and surrounded. And we also talked about the 21 qualities of a leader and the 21 habits. And we're going to turn the time over to Tina, who is going to walk us back through those. So Tina?
Yeah, I hope everyone had an opportunity to download the worksheet. And if not, no worries, you can download it right off of our page. But as Sean said, thank you so much for joining our Salon Owner Networking page. And we really, really want to add so much value to all of you. And we want you to add value right back to us. So any and all ideas that you have right now during this crisis, especially as we all get back to work, ideas that you have, please continue to share. And I know many of you already have and have some really, really great ideas. But as Sean said, we're really, really talking right now about our character in crisis. And that's what's most important, because we have an opportunity to redefine ourselves. And I like to say to refine myself as well. And I can't wait to hear some of the ideas that you guys have come up with. But Sean and I talked about that leaders should not seek to protect their titles as an owner, but they should seek to protect their character. So what are you doing to really build your character during this time? And what are you filling your mind with? And I know my family, I'm driving them crazy because I have to give them my schedule, because here I am in my den, I like to call it, and I'm addicted to really self-development things. And I could spend 24 hours in here if my family would let me, but of course they don't. So I have to go back into the house every once in a while. But one of the things that I put together was the 21 qualities of a leader. And this actually came from my team. This 21 qualities of a leader came from my team, and I wrote them down. I asked them, what are you looking for in a leader? And I challenged you to do this with your team. So if you go to your team and ask them, what qualities are you looking for? And then have them tell you what qualities and write them down and make it into your own assessment. And that way you have your own salon assessment to really, really check yourself. But I also challenged you to use my assessment and to grade yourself, and then also to see if your team would grade you. And I wonder what everybody came up with. And I'm just curious. I'm curious, Kaylee and Christine, if you had an opportunity to grade yourself and if you came up with anything on this that you want to work on. I know I talked about mine is just really organizing with communication and making sure that no team member is left behind, that we are really looking out for all staff members so that we can make sure that they're being heard and being understood and that they feel safe, and just really trying to work on that process. So how about you, Kaylee?
I did this with my team, not this exact one, but we did the 360 reviews and they were anonymous. And so it was always really interesting and humbling, of course. And a lot of the time, the feedback I got was kind of like I take off too fast and I don't maybe make sure they're all with me. And I think that really comes down to communication, right? Because I'm like, woo, we're going this way. Come on, guys. And it kind of goes in my whole life. If I'm going on, I was going to run a marathon with a friend, and at the end I sprinted to the finish line, and, because I just couldn't help myself. I just needed to get there faster. And then I was like, what a jerk. Like, we were doing this together and we should have crossed the finish line together. And for that extra, 20 seconds that I gained with that sprint, I broke that togetherness. And so I guess that would be the quality is just John always says, you know, if you find when people say it's lonely at the top, and he says, if you find yourself at the top alone, you're going too fast. And that would be definitely the thing I have to work on, is like checking to make sure they're with me. Because
Yes.
I'm just on like high speed.
I love
Thanks
that.
for asking, Tina.
It's so true. And I know the DISC personality assessment, Sean and I are both trainers and consultants, and I know many of you are as well too. And so that high D personality, which is literally only 3% of the population. And I didn't realize that I was doing that because I am a high D, and I did that to my team for years. And just like John says, you know, if you think you're leading and no one's following, then you're just taking a walk. And so it's definitely, you know, and I would train my staff, because I was training myself, let's link arms. This is how you lead. This is how you lead. You link arms, you stay with people, and the greatest leaders know how to push their people at a rate that they can stand. So I love that.
Yeah.
How about you, Christine? What's an area that you are working on, or that your team told you that you need to work on?
I'm always asking for feedback, and the two things that I usually say is, what should I do more of and what should I stop doing? And it helps me to get feedback of what I'm doing not so well right away. And I know my weaknesses, and through the DISC, and I know that I have that same challenge, Kaylee, is I fly. And so I would say, being a high D, that I don't do a lot of detail work. I am very big vision person and very vague. So I just go for it, and then I forget that I forgot to deliver all the details. So I would say the organized planning and communicating every detail of expectation with that. And the other would be, and that also goes with delegating and accountability to delegating. So that if I delegate something, because I'm a high D and I'm visionary, I stay up here a lot, and then I'm like, oh, I didn't follow through, and hold that person accountable for coming back to me. So those are two areas for me that's in my growth plan for this year. And to kind of really live by John's book, Today Matters, because I think a lot of what he talks about in that book are those particular things.
Mm-hmm. That's powerful. Those of you that have joined us, please jot down one area that you're working on, or maybe your team told you to work on. And I'll tell you, here's the deal, you guys. When you're doing this and you're growing yourself, because the highest form of leadership is leading ourselves. So if you want to change your team, you got to change yourself first. Remember, transformation begins in me, and the leader has to go first. So the best thing that you could ever do as a leader is to share with your team what you're working on, but you better go to work at it. You can't use it as an excuse. You can't say, well, because I'm a high D and I lead this way, well, that's just the way I am. No, you have to let them know that it's something that you're working on, and truly go to work on it. And when you make shifts and change in your life, now they're going to be inspired to make shifts and changes in their life. So you really have to do very, very little communicating with them and coaching, because when they see you grow, they automatically start growing. So it's just the law of growth, and it's how it works. But I always challenge people to do things like this in a salon meeting, and do a round table of everyone sharing, hey, what do you think you're the best at? What area do you want to grow? And the leader should always go first. And then the next worksheet that we did was the habits of a leader. And I love this one because it really helps me to figure out my rule of 5 in a different season in my life. And I like to every quarter look at this, because I have a different goal, usually every quarter, that I want to reach. And so I like to sit down and say, okay, what's going to be my rule of 5? And these are just really, really great things to be able to help you to come up with your rule of 5. So hopefully you had an opportunity to go through this. But if you could just pick one today, what would it be that you think, man, what could be a shift that I could take? Go ahead and put it in the chat box or on the Facebook Live. We'd love to hear that. And then as we're going through this, I'm going to introduce Rosemary and Nuala. They're going to be taking our next portion of Leading Through a Crisis with us. But as we go through this, if you have any questions, please let us know, and we will try to answer them at the very end of this webinar today. So Nuala, Rosemary, take it away.
Hey guys, so myself and Rosemary, thanks so much for joining us, by the way. We really appreciate it. And it's not lunchtime yet, so just hold off. We're going to be here for about an hour. And I hope you have a little bit of a pen and paper. You know, I think those are some great points. Thanks, Tina and Sean, for putting that together and recapping from last week. It was really powerful. So we're going to do a module now. It's called Lead in Leadership Crisis. So we're going to work on that now. I'm just going to put up a few little a little PowerPoint here. This is obviously not my strong suit, but this is why I'm here. I'm here to grow with you all. And we're not, you know, nobody's there already. So that's what I love about this. Like, there's so much growth within this. And this is our portion in Real Leadership in Crisis. John C. Maxwell teaches us that there's three things. You got to show up early. And I think Tina mentioned that today. Showing up early is really important. And showing up first, I think, is what she actually said. So showing up early means that you're there for the team, you're on time, you're present, you're awake with them, you know, you're there for them and what they need. And, you know, that's kind of, they've got to see that to have that confidence within you. So, you know, you go first, you go forward. So this is where I think your team needs to see you going forward. And it's been interesting because these last 4 weeks, where we were 4 weeks ago and where we are today, I think is totally different. You know, 4 weeks ago, it was, you know, very, very unclear. I think there's still a lot of unclarity there going forward and what we're going forward into, but it was just, everything was thrown up in the air and it was uncertain. But as leaders, you know, we had to kind of claw our way forward, see what's happening, get a little clarity for ourselves, and then show up for our team. Because the most important thing is, and I think Kaylee mentioned this, if you're alone, you're not bringing your team with you. So it's really important that you show up early and you're there for your team. Showing up with clarity is that second thing for me. And this is, word was great because there's a certainty in this word, you know, clarity. You still don't have all the answers. And I know we don't have all the answers. And the team that I'm working with, you know, I work with Arrojo in New York City, myself and Nick Arrojo. Nick is the owner. We have 3 salons, 2 cosmetology schools, and we just actually started our online learning, and it was amazing. And we really didn't know how this was going to work, and it's been so much fun. Our students are having, it's so much creativity happening, and you know, the clarity and the certainty that we're going to be reopen gave our whole business, you know, we've got 120 employees, and it gave us all so much, which is the hope, you know, I'll move into that in a few minutes, but the clarity and the certainty that we're going to reopen our businesses. We don't know what that's going to look like. We don't have all the answers, but stick with us because we're going to do it. And you know, so being open, being honest, being clear, you know, being confident, you know, showing your team the confidence. And that's why this is important for us, that you guys continue on this journey with us, because it is lonely at the top when you are a leader. I led my own salon for 10 years, and I know what that was like. And that's how I kind of started getting around like-minded people. Tina Black created, you know, this Facebook page, and then Christine brought us all together. And you know, that was a great, clear moment for me, because I knew I wanted to contribute to our industry through this crisis. And I was really super excited when, you know, Christine put this team together, and I said, okay, what can we do? What can we collaborate? You know, let's get clear in our message. And that's when we said, you know, Real Leadership in Crisis. And, you know, these things have shifted and changed. And, you know, just to be assured, you know, assure your team that, you know, we're going to move forward, we're going to move together. And prioritizing is what a leader needs to do in these uncertain times. That is your responsibility. So you've got to prioritize, you know, what that next step is for you and your team. And we've done a couple of great things. We had a meeting with we have these Zoom happy hours. We had Happy Mondays, and then we went to, you know, Happy Hour Friday. And last Friday we had a great team with, we had a great meeting with our team. The majority of the team showed up. And what the owner, Nick, wanted to do was he wanted to, you know, point to that star, you know, we don't know when we're opening. We had uncertain questions. We don't have all the answers, but this is what we've done. We were really clear with the team. We've removed stations. So we have a 38-chair salon, and we removed 18 stations. So now we're down to 20 stations. So we're giving everybody the security they're going to have space. You know, our sanitation, you know, everybody's to take the barbicide certificate within this time. So the sanitation is really important. And Tina actually, just before we went on this call, said that Barbicide had a great list for people on how to open their businesses. So I'm excited to look into that. Again, there's new information coming out all the time. So we painted the picture for our team that, you know, your breaks are not going to be the same. We're going to have to stagger, you know, the opening. So staggering when the clients are coming in. So we kind of laid it out to them with clarity, with clearness, with confidence. You know, we're going to have, I think somebody posted a great picture of it. I call them Tupperware, like, this box that they put all their equipment into. And we had talked about doing that every client will have, you know, we stepped the steps of, you know, clean equipment, you know, barbiciding and sanitizing stations. And we're going to schedule your breaks, so not so many people can be in the lunchroom at the same time. And we're actually looking into, I'm putting together at the moment, a check-in for the employees and the clients, because we're all responsible for this. So the clients will have to be responsible that in the last 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever the, you know, the World Health Organization say we have to do on making sure that, you know, you're not with this virus, and the employees will have to be responsible for that too. So, you know, we're being really, really clear with our team, our expectations of them, our expectations of, you know, ourselves. So, you know, showing up with clarity and really, you know, moving forward. And I really love that, you know, we're creating this for our team so they can come back and with a confidence that we're doing our work. And I think this is changing all the time. Showing up with hope. This is where you got to be a hope dealer. You know, as a leader, it's your responsibility to show up with hope and show up really, really confident and clear that this is going to work, and that the hope that this is all going to happen. And hope is one of the biggest things. We had no control over this virus. We had no control. So we can't control anything on the outside. All we can control is what we're doing inside. And that's what's really important. And that's why I love being here with you guys. So we can only control the choices that we make. So we had prepared, you know, you have to be prepared to learn as a leader. And what I have decided was, I think I have another slide here, show up with hope, is, okay, let me go back to that. I'm a little bit ahead of myself here. Who has shown up for me as a leader, which I didn't expect. And please, no political comments on this. This isn't about politics. It's about a human story. You know, Governor Cuomo, he's been amazing how he's shown up for New York. And it's so funny because I didn't expect this. You know, I call my mom, you know, my mom's just turned 90 in February. She's a rock star. She's amazing. And, you know, she's always asking me about Trump. So every time I call her, she's asking me about Trump. Now who she's asking me about is Cuomo. Oh, he's lovely, you know, in her lovely Irish accent. He's so nice. Oh my God, he's a very handsome man. And doesn't he look like he's doing a great job? And no, nobody's talking about Trump at the moment. Everybody's talking about Cuomo and what a great job he's done. But what I've loved about watching his updates is what he's done for me is he's brought that human story into this. He talks about his mother. He talks about his daughters. I think his brother and his sister-in-law contacted the COVID-19, and his brother-in-law, or his brother is a CNN reporter. I don't know that much about him, but I just know he talks about his family each time. And he's concise, he's clear, he delivers hope. And, you know, he's always pristine. I am a little disappointed, on a side note, that it looks like he got a haircut, but anyway, that's another note. We won't open up that can of worms at the moment. Okay, so that's another thing in our industry that, you know, it's a little hot topic at the moment. But he shows up with hope all the time. He told this most amazing story, and it really impacted me the other day. And he was talking about his kids, and he was talking about, you know, the adults, and how, and this is relating back to our team, guys, and how, you know, he asks these superficial questions like, how are you? How's it going? You know, like a 4-minute, you know, kind of touch base. And he says to his mom, oh yeah, I'll get over for coffee today. And then he calls her and says, oh mom, I can't get over for coffee. You know, I got busy. And what he said was that you cannot, in a 4-minute conversation, you cannot get to know people. And it really impacted me because I was like, okay, I've done that so much with my own family, with my own team, you know, that team member that wants to talk to you, and you know, they're always going to be okay. You know, they're that loyal team member, but they keep saying, you know, you maybe have to move their meeting, or you have to, you know, they're going to be okay. So they feel secure in their being there. So they sometimes get pushed around and moved around like my own family does. You know what I mean? I get so busy, I get caught up in my work, but it really impacted me that he said, you know, we've got to really go deeper on these things. And he talked talked about as girls. And I thought it was so powerful. And I was like, okay, where do I need to go deeper with my own husband, with my own family members, and with my team? And, you know, that's what I kind of want to, you know, talk about with this next, you know, piece is, you know, forever changed. I feel that we're going to be forever changed as we go through this. And that's how I feel, you know, and that's why I want to ask you guys, what are the 2 to 3 things that you're going to change that you weren't even aware of before? And I know I might have been aware of these things, but I really wasn't aware of how important they are and how important it is to kind of connect with people on that human level and really, really make time for them. And, you know, these things, thoughts are popping around my head, like maybe Sunday is going to be my really day that I, you know, don't get on the, you know, the internet. I don't get on my phone. I spend that day connecting with my family. I'm miles and miles away from them. And we've been having great Zoom calls. We've got another happy hour with my family tomorrow night from Ireland. And it's going to be fun trying to get my nephew who lives in Australia up nice and early to see if he'll join us. But, you know, so these are the things that I'm really, really going to commit to. And technology has played a big, big part in this. And there was another thing I did last week, which was I had to feed myself, which is really important. I think as a leader, it's really important that you feed yourself. So I was doing this exercise on, you know, where my passion and my talents and meet my marketplace and, you know, for my team. And one of the questions was really, really good. And it really helped me a lot this last week was, you know, ask 5 friends, what's one thing that I'm good at? And one of the people that I reached out to is actually on the panel, Christine. She's like one of my long time American friends. She's been my buddy for now for, we're going on 25 years. I think it's our anniversary. Happy anniversary, darling. And I picked 5 people that I value their opinion and wouldn't blow smoke, you know. And the things that came back to me were so powerful, and they just fed my soul. And it's sometimes we don't realize what's the one thing that you're good at, and we don't kind of take it in and just make it feel like it's, you know, it was just so good, guys. I recommend that you guys take these 2 little exercises to do. You know, what's the one good thing I'm good at? Ask 5 of your friends. And actually 2 of those people were colleagues that I work with, and they're friends at this stage. You know, we work with each other such a long time. And the things that came back, I was like, oh my God, there's a lot of great things in common. And I'm so happy that I live my passion and my talent and my passion are this industry and helping and developing people and growing people. And I want to invite you guys on this journey that we're going to be going on. Hopefully, you know, we're going to announce something at the end of today. We want to do another mastermind. We want to get a couple of people, go a little deeper. You know what I mean? I think sometimes it's the best not to go so broad, but it's good to go so deep. And as leading people through crisis, I think, you know, our lifelines in these next couple of months, as we're reopening our businesses and, you know, as we're leading others into this. And again, going back to Cuomo, you know, you don't know what your people are going through. You know what I mean? You really don't know. And what we've done also in our business is I'm going to have one-on-ones with everybody before we open. So the 2 weeks before the date that we get to open, I'm going to meet with the team on a Zoom call. And I'm going to kind of have crafted some questions. I'm going to listen to them, and I'm going to go deep with them. And that's being, to me, you know, the leadership in that is just leading them forward, but listening to them. So that's one of the things that we're also going to do as a business. I want to, anybody here got, you know, any 2 to 3 things that they weren't even aware of before the crisis? Is this something that they want to talk about? Is there anything that anybody was aware of now that they weren't aware of beforehand? Anybody jump in here?
I'll add something, Nuala. One of the things that I feel I really had to kind of go back and look at the beginning. Like, I started really thinking about when I first opened, like, what was the foundation and what was my passion and what really made my business and my leadership great, even before I knew about leadership. Like, what was my mojo? And I started to really think backwards about what built me from the beginning, because I had the time to reflect. And it really, actually, it was after you asked me the question about you, I was starting to think to myself, like, wow, what am I good at, and what built my company from the beginning that created all this? And to get that sort of like that one area of strength that that has still carried me through all these years. So
that's fantastic, Christine. Awesome. It is a question I do ask our team. I'm like, why, you know, because we're in the beauty business, we're in the salon business and cosmetology schools. It's like, why are you in this industry? Like, why are you here? You've got to have that why. So I think that is that core, you know, strength that can keep you going. And, you know, in that time of weakness is fall back in love with what you're doing and remember the why. I love it. Thanks, Christine. Anybody else want to jump in here? All righty, so we can, I'm going to have, Rosemary's going to come up after me here, but I have this one quote that I absolutely love. I love Winston Churchill. I think he, you know, I love reading about him. I love, you know, watching any movie that he's in, and I love his books. And this is a great quote, you know, if you're going through hell, keep going. And the meaning behind this is actually, I'm going to read this out if you don't mind, because there's a meaning behind this that I found a long time ago and it really helped me is, you know, the meaning behind this leadership quote, after hell comes paradise. Oh, love it. Going through hell here is figurative. It represents a struggle. You're fighting for something. If you give up, nothing will happen. Don't give up, guys. Nothing will happen. But if you keep going, when it's hard, you'll achieve something, probably something great. I love this because great things require great effort. As a leader, you are the example for others. The best way to influence people is by example. So keep going so others you lead can also keep going. So with that, if anybody has anything, I would love to, you know, just a little bit about me here. Direct message is the best way to get me on Instagram at the moment, except on Sundays going forward. That's something I'm going to be carving off for my personal time. But, you know, just keep going, guys, and just never give up and stay in a community of like-minded people and collaborate, you know, collaborate across, I think it is, and partner up. So if there's anything that you like that we're saying through this, please partner through with us. And with that, I'm going to put on Rosemary, or if anybody wants to actually talk about anything in this before we go on to Rosemary's next slides. I think we're all set, correct, guys? Thank you. Here, Rosemary, let's
love
go.
it, Nuala. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Okay.
Thanks, Nuala. Thanks, Nuala. And I'm so happy to be here with such an amazing team of people. And when I was looking through some images, I saw this and I thought to myself, you know, this explains it beautifully. In a crisis, real leaders show up. They show the way, they direct the path, and they have everyone on the same page. So the definition of a crisis in an intense time of difficulty, a decision that will be a turning point. It doesn't have to be necessarily a health crisis, pandemic. It could be any sort of decision that's taking care or being a part of your life, that it is a turning point in your life. So we're going to move on to the next slide. So how do leaders, real leaders, show up? There's constant communication, making sure everyone's on the same page. And when you heard some of these incredible leaders on this panel, a few of them have spoke about how they stay consistently engaged with their team, because it's so important, whether you are a salon of 3 or 4 or a salon of many or multiple locations, you have a vision, you have a culture, you have to be on the same page. Don't assume that everybody's with you on the same page, but you need to communicate. The second question, or the second point I want to bring out, is delegate authority by using your team where and when needed. I think this is so vital because each person brings a certain element to the team. This is a great time to understand your team and where their special, unique strengths and where they can support each other, because everyone is strong in one area of their life. It's not about just the technical terms or the technical abilities. This is beyond that. This is about the individual and how they could bring your culture and your environment to that next level. A leader also must be deliberative in their thinking. If something's not working, you need to understand and know why it's not working. Don't sit there and just wait for it to happen. Look at it on the front end, because the last thing people need to do is a leader to be caught up emotionally in a crisis. So there's a question I want to ask to Tina and Kaylee. And these are questions that are going to be posted at the end of our session as reflective questions for the community. So Tina, what are 3 practical things you could do to stay in constant communication with your team during this crisis?
Well, thankfully, Rosemary, we had a really good set system of communication that was already set up. So I was grateful for that, because I believe that you have to have a written form of communication. Although I felt that we needed more over communication, especially during this time. And so what we did is we continued with our normal meetings, even though everyone is temporarily unemployed, right? And we just offered it voluntarily. And we've had 100% show rate, which says a lot about our leadership. And so that's been really incredible. But every Monday, our salon leaders have continued their meetings, but we made them longer. So we made the meetings for an hour instead of a half an hour, especially as we hash out everything. And then on Tuesdays, our whole team comes together on Zoom, of course. And then talking about everything that we're doing. But mostly, I have to say, Rosemary, in the very beginning, it was so amazing because Kelly Cardenas messaged us and said, hey, I would love to be a guest speaker. And he offered to be a guest speaker 3 Tuesdays in a row. And he poured it on, and our team was shifted and changed through those 3 times that we got to work with him. And so just really reaching out to people. And then we had an incredible surprise guest speaker from Stephanie Kochelski last week for our team. And that just made our team just lift their spirits. And then me as the leader continuing, we had a mastermind going already, which we're using Girl Wash Your Face with Rachel Hollis, and it couldn't have come at a better time. And so being able to go through that with them, and then of course doing some continuing education with them. And then we use Vivian McKinder's program. So it's super awesome because now our team can really, really work on that and complete a lot of the subjects that they wanted to complete as well. But they have always been on Snapchat, Rosemary, so they are doing that even more. I get on it every once in a while because, as you know, it's busy stuff to be able to, work through. But the other thing that I've noticed with our team is the leaders have really stepped up showing up on social media and being live on social media, and them just reaching out to one another and really just thanking them. They're so inspired by each other. And then lastly, them really getting on, and we have a group me as well too. So we share all of our information with each other, but them also making sure that they show up to our local cosmetology schools. Of course, I'm blessed to own Paul Mitchell School, so there have been guest speakers, and cheering each other on through that process. So I've seen a lot of growth with our team, and I feel like we're closer than we ever have been before. So this crisis definitely brought us closer together.
I love that. I think it's so important. Thank you, Tina, for sharing. And Kaylee, you were sharing something earlier, and I would love for you to share it to the community.
Yeah, so I sold my salon about 1.5 years ago, and now I work with salon owners as a coach. And so I've been getting involved with my clients and their teams. And what was really interesting that happened is we're behind the scenes working on all of these changes that we're going to implement to solve problems that existed in the company before, so we can relaunch it. And I'm like, okay, bring your team together, and we're going to share with them, what we've been working on. And what I quickly realized when they came on together is that I had made the assumption that they were already meeting, and then this was going to be another meeting that I would join in and we would share logistics. And what I soon realized was it was actually the first time they had met, and they just needed to connect and be heard and feel supported. And that's when I realized, it's maybe not a given for, all of our listeners that, yes, keep up with your meetings, because I quickly realized that, now was not the time to talk business, right? And so we shifted our plan into just kind of seeing where everyone was at, how they were feeling, trying to support them, and we planned regular meetings. And I like to I always called it in my company like a heartbeat meeting. Like the meeting has to happen like a heartbeat. It should be the same time. Tina, you said it's every Monday. Like, it's not like random, hey, let's meet up this day, let's meet up that day. It's something that everyone can rely on, count on, and it happens at the same time every week. Whatever your meeting rhythm is, it should be a rhythm like a heartbeat. And that's when people can start to really feel supported. You have that consistency there for them, and then you can keep that connection. And then when it's time to talk logistics, there's going to be so much more room for that, and they're going to be so much more receptive to it. So if you haven't been meeting with your team, I highly encourage you to start a heartbeat meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. You know, and I think it's so important because you both brought up something really important to the table, which I think all of our listeners should need to understand. Consistency. It's not a pretty word, but it is a word that's impactful and it is profound, because consistency leads to the change, because it keeps everyone, just like I said earlier, constant communication, on the same page. If you're riding a wave, you got to be riding the same wave. It can't just be all of a sudden going, you know, one person's on a high part of the wave and a low part of the wave. So we're going to move forward. So when a leader is in a crisis or dealing with a crisis, you must deal with what we call a PGE. What are the pains? What are the potential losses during this crisis? What are the gains? What are the wins and the learns from this crisis? And the experience. What is the experience gained? And do you have that experience to lead people through that crisis? It's understanding that you have a vision and that you can walk them through it, and that this is not just about, you know, how many years you've been doing something. It's about understanding that you are part of the group. You are not above the group. We can move forward. Thanks, Nuala. In a crisis, intuition, it's sensing what to do with your group, what to do with the timing, and plus the timing is sensing when to do it, is understanding, is this the right time to introduce something new? Is this the right time to create this change that everybody can understand? Because out of that, it equals all that is birthed out of practice leadership experiences. And before we move on, I just wanted to share a little bit of a story, which is a personal story. I came from a world where transparency was not allowed. And it was really difficult when my mother was diagnosed with cancer. I care for her in 2018. And at the same time, I am not a parent, but the closest thing I have to a parent is my little fur babies. And they are like my little children. And 2 weeks prior to my mother being diagnosed to cancer, my cat, who was like my best little buddy, was diagnosed with cancer and went into cardiac arrest. And finding out that my mother was going through the treatments, my family, I have a younger brother and an older sister, and my brother tried to be there, but he was emotionally caught up in the whole situation. And my sister was unreadily available just due to the fact of her job. She's in the film production world. And I had to step up and be able to juggle the fact of taking my mother to these treatments and being able to understand the schedule and of my day, and then also trying to be there for her emotionally as well for the family. And this was all about self-leadership, because if you can't lead yourself, how the heck are you going to lead anybody else? You have to really be able to understand that it has to start within you to be able to let it flow through you. And I didn't know that at the time. And I remember a client specifically telling me when she went through cancer, her husband said to her, "This will change you." And I didn't understand until I went through it. And seeing my mother just about on my way to work, I mean, I was literally ready to walk out the door, see my mother collapse. And then all of a sudden I had to try to explain to clients that I can't make it and that I need to take her to the hospital because she had a bad reaction to the chemo. And then watching these people, and I'm not saying this as a sob story, but this was about what I said earlier, taking away the emotions and being able to lead through it and say, you know, I may not have the answers, but I am sure as heck going to make sure that I can get everyone on the same page and understand what needs to be done to be there for her. Okay, we can move on. Thank you for allowing me to share that. You see, why you make a decision is just as important as the decision. It is the why that people are trained and developed. Your decision should be aligned with your values. So we're going to move on to the next slide, and I'm going to ask Christine and I'm going to ask Sean, what are your values? These are things that are not compromised in your life under any circumstances. So Christine, if you would be so kind.
So thank you so much, Rosemary. This is amazing. And thanks for being so transparent and vulnerable with your story. I know what that's like. I've been there. So I appreciate your vulnerability.
Thank you.
So based on values, I actually went and revisited mine, and I built our values in our company and my values with my team. And we did a values exercise, and we all pulled together, and we had 5 core values that we had about 12 or 15, and then we narrowed them down over time to like our 5. And one, we interview based on our values. We hold people accountable based on our values. And I probably could do a much better job at keeping these alive in my company all the time, but we do refer to them. We have value cards in our company with our values on it, so that when team members, it has a creed of 10 on the back, so 5 values on the front and then a creed on the back. And I kind of revisited those values a little bit. So I'm gonna give you a little more than what's on my card, because this is something I just worked on yesterday. So God would be first, growth, communication, teamwork, trust, a positive attitude, accountability, and humility.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It is such an important thing that there are things that you're not willing to compromise because they stand the test of time of who you are as an individual. So thank you. How about you, Sean?
I love that. And for me, I think, you know, the mother of all core values for me, and the way that I truly lead my life, is integrity. I think that it's, when you think of integrity, it's doing always what is right. It might not be easy, but it's the right thing. So it encompasses character. It encompasses loyalty, family, courage. It's, you know, so I look at, it's, for me, it's all about integrity, and making that every decision is made integral, whether that's in a family relationship, a work relationship, that integrity is always placed first. And then, you know, Christine gave a great list of values, but if we look at the core of her core values, it comes back to what's right. And that's where integrity comes in.
Excellent. Excellent. And what about the rest of the community in the chat room? Jot down some of the things that your core values, that you're not willing to sacrifice who you are. It defines you. And what do we have?
I'll add to what you're talking about, Rosemary, because one of the exercises that I did as I went through my core values yesterday was writing down in each value for my team what was the way I wanted to see a behavior based on the values, and what were some things that were non-negotiable, that if certain behaviors came up, that this would be example of would not be negotiable based on the values. So that sometimes what happens is, if we give a definition of trust, you know, sometimes people are not really sure, well, what does that mean exactly? So what I did is I wrote down, you know, 3 things, behaviors that go along with trust, and how it builds a relationship, and how it, you know, it has integrity. And then 3 areas of trust that would be non-negotiable. And these were just kind of examples that I felt like would really help the team as we are doing our re-onboarding people and getting them tied into the vision, so that they could become more aligned with the values when we go back.
I love that. And you know, you said something a while ago in one of your teachings, is that you're almost in the sense of like rehiring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because at this point, everybody has been shaken up by this. Even your strongest individual, your most strongest dominant personality in the industry has been shaken up at some point. And they need to know, as a leader, that you're able to walk them through this, because they're going to be looking through the whites of your eyes, not just you, every one of us, to see what is it that you're doing.
And I think that I agree with that. And I also think that it just has taken everybody this time to reassess.
Mhm.
And maybe in our environment, there were things that people didn't like, or things that were going on. Maybe they didn't even like their own behaviors, and this has given them a time to reflect. So I love what Nuala was talking about with, I don't know if it was Tina or Nuala, about having one-on-ones. This would be a great time to really bring those values up and talk about how they feel like they personally can align with the values moving forward. Like maybe that could be part of their goals that you work on.
Yeah. How about anybody else on the panel? Would you like to share some of your values along with our community?
Rosemary, I'll share an interesting call I had the other day. A client was wondering, they all had the same Instagram handle. And the stylist was saying, I want to change the name of my Instagram handle because I want to have my own creative freedom. And so she was asking me, like, should I say yes or no? How do I handle this? And there was also a question about uniform, because they all wear black. And so, you know, should I let them be more creative? And so I said, well, we need to go back to your values. I said, what are your values? And she's like, I don't know, I'm really not clear. And so I said, okay, let's go through this exercise.
Yeah.
And we determined that one of her key values was being unified. And so I'm like, there's your answer, right? Because there's actually no right or wrong answer to the question. It's what are your core values, and your values have to be unshakable. And if you're creating a unified team and every team has the same thing on the Instagram handle except for one, is that unified? If everybody's wearing black except for one, is that unified? So she, you know, if unified was not one of her core values, sure, why not? Like, let's change it all up, right? But when we went back to her core values of what was really important to her, what was unshakable, what was non-negotiable, the answer became very clear. And I think that's what the core values do, is they give you a rock to stand on, right? And a lot of times we get pushed by our team. And like you said, Christine, like you kind of forget, what did I initially start this company for? And when you don't have those core values to stand on and they're not clear, you can get shaken up by all the different requests and not really be clear on your own answer. So I thought it was really fun to do that exercise with her, to see how clear that answer became once we discovered what rock she was standing on.
Love it. Love it.
Can I add to this, Rosemary?
Of course. Yes,
Yes,
of
so
course, please.
this is actually a great exercise. I remember when I had my own salon, and this is something we did, and we you know, went into the salon on a day that we weren't open, and on all the mirrors I put, you know, huge Post-it sheets, and you know, we did a list of values, and then we went through this exercise, and you can Google it. It's a really easy exercise. So if you have, you know, 100 values, and you work it down to, you know, your top 20 and what's one value more valuable than the other. And you really go through the team and they really think into it. Because Kaylee, from you saying with that client of yours, you know, if the team really understood the values and they start filtering everything through the values of what they do and the choices that they make, values that they've created together as a team. And I love that Christine put these values together, but it's a great exercise to do with your team. If you have a small team, it's going to be really, really bonding. And for a bigger team, I think it's really great to align people. So I know how powerful this exercise was in my own business, and you know, whatever your core, your values are.
Yeah, Dana's asking kind of how to whittle it down. And if you just get a big sticky paper with your team, if you're saying, Nuala, and everybody says all the values, what you'll find is a lot of the ones that come out are the same, just different word. And so then as a team, you can just pick, you know, try to get it down to 3 to 5. And you'll see that a lot of the things from one value can fit into another. And that's going to help you get it down to those ones that kind of cover everything that you're all about.
Yeah, I think Sean made a great point. I think with his number one value being integrity, and then what that meant for him was there was a lot of other values that fit into that lane. So, you know, you open up your Google and you search what does, you know, each value mean that your team picks in, and then you can start eliminating. Process of elimination, you know, depends on the size of your team, and give yourself a couple of hours. You know what I mean? A couple of hours to really figure this out. And it's really good. I know John Maxwell actually didn't know this until we had started doing Leadership in Crisis. He has a card, like a card stack of values that you can do games with your team. I've actually ordered a pack for myself because I didn't know it was something that was available. So you can make it as a game, you know, which is really good, but it's really, really bonding. So thanks for
Wow.
that, guys. Thanks, Rosemary.
Thank you. We can move on to the next slide.
Great.
So I love this quote. This is from Roy Disney. When you know what your values are, it's easy to make decisions. And who doesn't love a little Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse? I mean, sitting there, even if it's just the statues. So we can move forward.
Okay, great.
Now, as a team, as a core team of who we are, us leaders, I wanted to share this because this is something that we all walk this path. One of our values as the John Maxwell team, as a community, we are people of value who value people and add value to them. And this is what this is about. We are all leading and showing you what we have grown from and through our own heart, through our own mind, and through our own soul. You see, a crisis exaggerates the negative, and good leaders deal with as much of the negative before it happens as much as they possibly can. We'll move forward.
And what's the life raft for the life ring there for Rosemary?
Thank you for asking. So I put that because I thought that was a great image of showing when someone feels like they're sinking or they're going through a really dark time in their life, whatever it is, whether it's personal, whether it's professional, whether it's a combination of both, or you just lost, that leader is throwing out the life raft saying, I've got you. I'm going to bring you on this journey. I'm here to help you through the hard, musky waters.
Good. And I think that's something that we as a collective group, who we're all aligned with, is the John Maxwell team. That's what brought us together. And is that we would like to be able to kind of go on that journey with you guys. And I'd like to do, let's have a look. Let's see if we got a couple of things here from Rosemary. Great. There's one more thing.
Yes, and the last quote that I loved is, the heart of leadership is based on serving others and not ourselves. Great leaders bring and see things on the front end and help them through crisis at all times. I thank you. If you need to contact me or contact any one of us fabulous team members, because they are all fabulous in my eyes, they can't do no wrong. They walk on water for me. I love them all dearly, and I'm honored and grateful to be a part of this. So with that, I'm going to speak into some application questions that I'm going to just talk. One of them I'm going to bring out to the table, and the rest will be posted on the page. Right, Nuala? That's what we're doing, yes?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. And then I'll be bringing it back to Nuala. So what is the key lesson? I'm going to post this out to the group. What is the key lesson did you learn about leading in a crisis from this session? You can just type it in the chat.
I think for me, it was definitely being together. I think having a team of like-minded people, wanting to contribute, because I think the biggest thing is, you cannot give what you don't have. And tithing has actually come up for me really big through this. It's I have so much to be grateful for, and the gratitude, and that's just like, how can I give back, and also in our personal lives, my husband and I have kind of increased our tithing in this time because we are so fortunate that we have more, and together, I think was the biggest thing for me, that I need my team, so that was for me.
Yeah. What about any of you guys?
I'd have to say for me, it's been just, don't be just a consumer, but be a contributor. And I think the more I contribute and the more I give back in a crisis, especially right now, the more I've been gaining back, because those who do the work do the learning. And so when you have to be prepared to give a lesson, all of a sudden it shows up, oh, am I actually doing that? And so leading by example as well too, because I have been consuming a lot of free webinars, a lot of free content that people have been giving out, podcasts, but then I said, I need to give too. And so my challenge has been to everybody I get in front of. In fact, I'm giving that challenge to all of you that are been a part of this webinar. I can't thank you guys enough for being a part of it, is to do the same thing that we're doing and continue to give and contribute, because you'll gain so much from it. So thank you so much for being a part of this. And like they said, I really hope that you will join us for our mastermind that we're going to be putting out as well too. And we'll put it on the page and share it with you and everything too. But because we really want to do life together with you, and those who work together, stay together, and we need to save this industry. And I'm in Marco Island right now, and my heart just it just fell the other day, because I didn't think it would ever happen in Marco Island, Florida, that I would see a salon close down here. And that's the last thing I want to see happen. And so let's all save our salons, SOS, and we can do it together. And it's all about, you know, being foundation that we've been talking about, and the values process. Like, that's huge, because then you're going to hire, you're going to train and sustain to your values, and it's everything. And you know what? We have so much to offer you, and to be able to be a part of this together. So thanks for being a part of this.
And some of the comments here were teamwork, you know, and it's just being there for the team. You know, it's their third, somebody said it was their third crisis, Jackie. We all know, it's like,
yes,
we're all familiar with crisis. You know, there's no smooth, everything worthwhile is uphill, darling. So, you know, there's no smooth transition. And, you know, to be grateful is also really good. So
Yeah.
I just want to just do a little bit of a conclusion, if that's okay, Rosemary.
Of course, please, by all means.
So
Nuala.
we have, like, now it is time to decide whether you will apply what you've learned in this study over the last 3 weeks. I think we've been working on this. If you want to commit to being a stronger, more stable, more influential, and more effective leader in time of crisis, you must be intentional about your approach. And I love that word also, intentional. So what's the intention? And that's when we've come together to maybe decide on this next journey. Do you want to talk a little bit about it, Christine?
Oh, we don't hear you, Christine.
Okay. So first I want to say is we all, even the 6 of us on this panel, don't have everything figured out. And that every day we're working on this journey, on this leadership journey. And one of the things that has helped us through this process is joining the John Maxwell team. I know all of us had joined at different times, but each of us can really talk about how much that affects us and how much still it affects us every day. So we want to share with you on May 4th, which will be our start date for our next mastermind group, and it will be on developing the leader within you 2.0. And so if you're challenged or you're having a hard time with leadership and how to develop your team, the first place to start is with you. And a lot of us kind of are always like, oh, it's easy for us to see what somebody else needs to be fixed, right? We see it really clear. But some of the challenges is the mirror and really kind of getting a reflection of yourself and thinking to yourself, like, what do I truly need? And this is where we fill our cups up and we really start to indulge in our self-growth so that we have the capacity to grow others. So starting May 4th, we are going to go on a 5-week journey, and we're going to do something similar that we did this time. Is we're going to take 2 chapters a week. We're going to post the link, and on that link, you have the ability to either, you can order the book online or you can download the Kindle version so that you have it pretty quickly. And each of us, 2 of us each week will do a segment. And what we did was we gave you the opportunity to either learn alone, or what we would suggest that you do is, you know, really be a river and give back to you and your team, and really allow them to take the journey with you, because it's much harder when you're actually climbing the mountain alone. When you are able to bring your team and they're able to prosper from the knowledge that we're going to give, you know, you'll have a lot of leaders that'll be developing at the same time, and it'll serve a greater impact for your team. So it will be posted on our group page, and then we will also send out an email, and we'll make sure that we have the link available for you. So if you have any questions, please let us know.
Yeah, next Thursday, we're going to all be meeting back together with whatever questions you guys have. So we want to make this a forum of questions. So you can post those on the page. You can post those when we start it at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time next Thursday again. So that'll be our last time together in this webinar series as well too. But we can't thank you guys enough for joining us, whether you're live or you're listening to the recording. And as Christine said, we want to have a private community Zoom where you'll have an opportunity to speak. Everybody will be a panelist. It won't be Facebook Live. It'll just be a private Zoom link that we'll be able to really share with each other, be transparent, be vulnerable, and come up with great ideas together. I love masterminds because it's so much fun. You take a book to a whole nother level and you learn so much from each other. And mastermind is when I hear someone speak. Like today, I heard all of these incredible coaches speak, and I wrote down some ideas, and that's what you're going to get. My life will never be the same because of the masterminds that I have participated in and the people that have joined, and many of the people that are on here right now have been in many of my masterminds. So I love you guys so much. We look forward to being back together with you next Thursday.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's the top of the hour. We do appreciate your time. We value, time is the biggest commodity we have, at this time. So we value each and every one of you. And if you have questions, you can also put them in the Salon Owner Network Facebook page. If you have questions of things that you want us to talk about next Thursday, it would be great if you could, just maybe think ahead. We'll send out a little reminder maybe on Monday to prompt a couple of questions if there's anything that you feel that you wanted us to cover or get a little clearer on. And, we're always there for you. So, always post in that Facebook page, and we're pretty active on it. And I think we're all kind of in and out of it most of the time, and, welcoming new members. And, we really want to grow this tribe. So together we can definitely go further. Okay, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks so
We'll see you
much.
next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.